How's it going, gamers, and welcome back to another RiftGuides WildRift video. And for today we are going to take a look at the tier list for the lower elo, or the so-called climbing list. Inside of a tier, the champions aren't arranged in any specific order, they're just there to be there, so don't question it. But before we get into the video, let's get to our question of the day. What item should be nerfed as fast as possible and why? As per usual, let me know in the comments below. Let's start with the Baron lane, and here we have Garen as our pick of the patch. This champion is just too easy to play, does everything you want, and Hellbreaker is still obnoxiously broken. So even if you're facing some Divine Sundra champions, this champion is super easy to pilot and therefore will punish most of the Divine Sundra champions, because most of the Divine Sundra champions take a little bit more skill in terms of piloting them, so people in the lower elo struggle a lot with them. However, with Garen, the gameplay is just very straightforward. You just walk there, bonk them, and you just spin to win until you can blast them with your Demacian Justice with an Ignite. Sounds amazing, super easy, super broken. Nonetheless, there are a few things you should pay attention to. Firstly, if you combo your first ability with an auto attack, you can input the auto attack into your first ability to get like a nice ability cancel, which is basically another auto attack. Another thing you have to take notice of is your second ability and how to use it. Let's say you play against a Renekton and the Renekton dashes into you with his third ability. What do you do and what do you think is he gonna do? He's most likely going to stun you with his second ability, so what you do when he dashes into you is you just use your second ability in preparation of him using his. Therefore you'll reduce the stun time and the damage taken, and therefore have an easier time trading back afterwards, because that's something that's just super nice and super helpful to do. This works with every champion in the game, by the way. As soon as you realize what the enemy champion wants to do, you're just able to use your second ability in expectation of them doing so, and then you're there and just win. Super easy. And this is our full tier list for the Baron lane. Next up comes the jungle role, and here we have Nunu as our super easy to pilot champion. This champion just eats jungle camps and rolls around like no other, basically like Rammus, but a little bit easier and probably a little bit better for the purpose he's actually designed for. Another thing you have to know about Nunu is the fact that Nunu is unable to lose any objective in the game. The reason is his first ability and his smite in combination deal more damage than any other champion can do to an objective. Therefore it's super easy to just secure them, which is something that is probably the most important thing in jungle if you play for the team. So if you don't believe in your own jungle skill in terms of carrying, you just pick like a tanky character like Nunu. With Nunu you can just roll around, disregard farming most of the time and just constantly gank people. That is something that is called the lower elo illness, because people don't pay attention to the map. And with Nunu, you're so fast on the map thanks to your snowball, you just constantly kill people and therefore, haha, snowball yourself into the game. But enough of the bad jokes, let's talk about the jungle clear. Nunu is a champion that loves to do at least one camp into a gank, or if he wants to, he can do 3 camps and be level 3 and then go for a gank. The reason for this is rather simple, because the moment Nunu hits level 3, he is able to guarantee a kill in a gank. Even if he flashes away, his third ability will still guarantee a root if Nunu flashes after, and therefore the enemy is rooted and your laner can collapse on him, and then it's an easy kill if the laner plays the game, however. And this is our full tier list for the jungle role. Up next is the mid lane, and here we have the Ahri rework. So let's talk about Ahri and why she's so good in the lower elo. Ahri as a champion is super safe in lane. She can always remain at a distance and always run away if things get too hot. Next up is the thing about her wave clear. She can just constantly push waves, which is something very important if you look at lower elo gameplay, because it's just easy to push a wave and rotate around the map, and that is what Ahri does best. And when people, like remember the thing I talked about with the Nunu jungle and the map awareness, don't pay attention to what you're doing, Ahri will accelerate the game so fast that she'll get overbearing. As of right now, the Ahri rework lacks a little bit of damage and only feels really good if she's ahead, but given the things I just presented, it's super easy to just get ahead. All you have to do for that is just push lane, get towards your spike, which is most of the time level 5, and once you're level 5 you can most of the time guarantee easy kills on the side lane, be it on the dual lane or be it on the Baron lane. You just punish people constantly for their ignorance towards jungle role and your role as a rotating mid laner. And here's like a little trick you have to keep in mind when you play Ahri. Whenever you Spirit Dash or Spirit Rush towards an enemy and you're close, just wait a second before you use your third ability. Wait if you know that they have their flash available, and once they use their flash, you can just use autocast on your charm and hit them anyway. This way it's just super easy to catch them, because once you're close enough, they are threatened and they feel the pressure. They have to react unless they want to die. Therefore, you just keep calm and wait for them to make their mistake, and then you just kill them, get their summoner spell and the free kill on top, and then afterwards you can go there again on your next ultimate's cooldown. Super easy, and then you farm them all the time. That is something Ahri loves doing. Once the enemy has no spells to defend themselves, mainly flash or anything along those lines, she can just constantly walk there on cooldown. And this is our full tier list for the mid lane. And now it's time for something spicy most of you people won't expect, and this is something for the AD role, but unironically it won't be an AD carry, but a mage, and a very specific mage that in high elo isn't played that often. I'm talking about Brand. So with all the other mages in the game, if you make a mistake and die, you're kinda ruined, and all your damage you deal is gone because you don't deal too much like right up front. However, with Brand it's a bit different. If Brand gets into a team fight and gets to unleash his full combo of spells, literally every single spell, he has done his job. And with his job done, he is even allowed to die without any problem in the world. Let's briefly talk about Brand in lane. Brand in lane can be very overbearing in terms of damage dealt. If he's running Electrocutor area, it really depends on how he likes playing. It's just about using the wave as a proxy target to hit the enemy champions. For example, with your third ability, you can tag them when they're close and deal a little bit of chip damage to them. Another thing you have to bear in mind though with Brand is you spike very heavily on level 3, since you then have access to all your free core abilities, which will enable your passive to deal a lot of extra damage. Which in return means once you're level 3 you have kill pressure. And if you're playing against a melee enemy support and they get too close just for a brief moment, you can blast them instantaneously, and with the help of your support you will just kill them. Before that, on level 1 and 2, you mainly focus on poking them out, but on level 5 the entire game changes. The enemy cannot fight you in a skirmish, because if they do so, they'll run into danger of getting hit by your ultimate all the time. If they're hit by your ultimate and all your other spells, they'll just get evaporated, blast into next season, and find themselves in Narnia or in their fountain. There's nothing they can do about it, it's just too much damage. To put it into perspective, your main job in a teamfight is to just throw all your abilities into the stacked enemy team, starting with the ultimate, and then you just unleash all the torrent of spells you can have on your mind, and then the fight is most likely won in your favor, unless the enemy is too fed already. And the beauty about Brand is the fact that he does percentage HP damage on his passive. So even if you're not so far ahead, you deal a lot of bonus damage to the enemy champions, and you'll always stay relevant because you always deal a lot of damage. Just check the after game screen and look at your damage and be surprised how much you do, even if your score doesn't look like that. And this is our full tier list for the AD carry role. And last but not least, we have the support role, and here we have something super easy to pilot that's always somewhat relevant. Since in the lower elo, enchanter supports are probably a little bit too difficult to pilot because you overextend once and you just immediately die, or the carry you play with just doesn't do too much. Here we have a champion that does something that is really helpful for your entire team, and all you have to do is identify what the enemy can do and how you can play around it. And I'm talking about Braum. Braum as a champion is a very dangerous champion. In the higher elos he gets bullied a lot in lane, but in the lower elos he just gets away scot-free. What really makes him so dangerous is his passive ability. When he attacks an enemy with an auto attack or his first ability, they get marked with his passive, and once his passive is fully stacked by auto attacks, the enemy will be stunned. In a teamfight, Braum just basically hits every single target he can once to apply the passive mark to apply pressure. Next to that, he puts up his shield to deny enemy projectiles flying into his direction, for example a Seraphine ult, an Azrael ult, or any type of AD carry incoming projectiles. Lovely, because they are turned immediately useless once they face a Braum in the later stages of the game, which means on the flip side, your team's champions will just be able to hit them for free without any punishment, and it's lovely. For your first item, you just love to buy Seed Jar because it's just too goddamn broken in what it does. And this is our entire tier list for the support role. You want more Rift Guides? Then tune in for the next time when we show you even better stuff. See ya.